Hello everybody and welcome to my first ever board game review. My name is Robert and I am the Co-op Gamer. Today I want to talk to you about Legends of Andor by Michael Menzel. This is a fully cooperative adventure game for 2 to 4 players ages 10 and up. It plays in about 60 to 90 minutes, and this game is the game that got me into the hobby of modern board gaming. Now don't use this video to learn the rules for the game, because the game has a built-in tutorial that will teach you the rules. I'll just give you an overview and then I'll come back to give you my opinion. Okay, this is everything you get when you buy the main game. You've got your heroes over here, your main game board, the legend deck, some monsters, the equipment board where you can get your equipment when you find it or buy it, some money and some extras which you use in different scenarios. Now first, let's take a look at the hero boards. In Legends of Andor there are 4 heroes to choose from. There's a warrior, a wizard, an archer, and a dwarf. Each of these heroes have their own hero board, which has a front side for the male version or a back side for the female version of the hero. All the heroes have their own name, their rank, and their special ability. Then there's a track for your strength points. So every hero starts at a strength of 1, but you'll gain points during the game. This will determine how strong you are in combat, and you've got willpower points. Every hero starts at 7, and you can gain or lose points during the game. When you get to 14 or more willpower points, you'll get an extra dice. When you get below 7 willpower points, you lose a die. So the dwarf has a minimum of 1 die and a maximum of 3 dice. The warrior can get up to 4 dice, but the wizard only ever has 1 die. But the wizard has a special ability where they can flip their die to the opposite side. So if you throw a 1, you can change it to a 6, a 2 to a 5, or 3 to a 4. Then there are 3 places where you can store small items, such as a potion bottle or a telescope. And then there's a place where you can store a large item, for example, a bow, or maybe a shield. And there's a place where you can store headgear, and that's the helmet. Now I've talked about the special ability of the wizard. Now let's take a look at the other special abilities. Usually when a player wants to fight a monster, their hero has to be at the same field as the monster. The exception is the archer. The archer can attack from an adjacent field. However, there's a disadvantage as well. The archer can only throw 1 die at a time. Once they've thrown the die, they have to decide if they want to keep that result or throw the next die. If they roll their last die, they have to keep that result. Then there's the warrior. When a player uses a well to gain willpower points, they gain 3 points. However, if the warrior uses the well, they gain 5 points. And then there's the dwarf. The dwarf's special ability is the fact that they can buy strength points at the mine for 1 gold instead of 2. Now the main thing that drives the game is the legend deck. This is closely connected to the legend track on the game board. Whenever the legend marker gets to a field containing a star, you will pause the game and immediately read and resolve the corresponding legend card. These cards will tell you the story through the use of some flavor text. They will also give you your goal at the beginning of the game or adjust the goal later on. When you reach the last legend card, the game ends and you get to see whether you've won or lost the scenario. Each scenario has its own legend deck. The first scenario is an introduction to the game, and in the last scenario you'll get to face the dragon. And the game even comes with a blank set of legend cards, so you can create your own legend. On your turn you can choose one of two following actions. You can either walk or fight a monster. To fight a monster, you have to be at the same space as the monster. You can only choose one of these, so I cannot move to the monster and fight it at the same turn. First turn I have to move, the second turn I can fight. However, you can move as many spaces as you want during your turn, and you can fight however many times you want during your turn. Only each of these actions will cost you 1 hour on the time track. So if you move one space, it'll cost you 1 hour. If you move 2 spaces, it'll cost you 2 hours, etc. Each day you'll have 7 hours to spend. After you've spent the 7 hours, you'll go back to the sunrise field. However, you can choose to spend 8, 9 or 10 hours, but for every extra hour you spend, you have to pay 2 willpower points. The first player that has spent all 7 of their hours will go to the rooster on the sunrise phase to indicate that that player will start the next day. Now let's see how combat works. As I said, you have to be at the same space as the monster. Then you'll take a look at your player board. Let's say this player has 2 strength points and 7 willpower points. 7 willpower points indicates that this player can use 2 dice in combat. The monster, the gore in this case, has got 2 strength points as well and has a willpower of 4, as indicated at the bottom of the game board. If you defeat this monster, you will get a bonus of either 2 gold or 2 willpower points, or a combination of these, so 1 gold and 1 willpower point. And as you see here, the monster will use 2 red dice in combat. Now the player will roll their dice first. In this case, a 6 and a 3. You only look at the highest number of the dice, so 6. I'll add that to my strength value, so I attack with a strength of 8. Now the player to the left rolls the dice for the monster. In this case, 4 and 1. Then you add the highest number to the strength of the monster, which was 2, so that's a total strength of 6. 8 beats 6 by 2, so the monster loses 2 willpower points. Then you can choose to spend another hour to fight again. If the monster gets to 0 willpower points, you have defeated that monster. So you might want to spend an extra hour to fight this monster again. Because if you choose not to fight it right now, it will regenerate all of their willpower points. It's possible that a monster is too strong to fight alone. A Skrull, for example, or maybe even a troll. Then you can choose to ask another player that is on the same space as you to help you. In this case, you throw your dice first, then the player that helps you, and then the player that's to the left of the player that helps you. You both use your highest die and add it to your strength points. Then you add those two together and compare it to the highest die plus the strength value of the monster. However, if the monster wins the fight, you lose the willpower points. In a battle for 2 player, you both lose the willpower points. If you've defeated a monster, you place it on space 80 of the game board. Then, as the space says, you move the legend token 1 space up. If there's a star on that space, it means that there's a legend card attached to that space, so you'll read and resolve that legend card. So if you slay a lot of monsters, the legend token will move pretty fast. That means that you might run out of time before you have a chance of winning the scenario. So sometimes it is better not to fight the monsters. A monster never starts the fight. You have to choose to start a fight. If you're on the same space as a monster, it won't attack you. The monster will just continue moving towards the castle. There are some special spaces on the board. This symbol means that this space is a merchant space. Here you can buy items from the merchant. You can only choose from this side because this potion you'll have to get from the witch. Each of these items will cost you 2 gold each, and you can buy as many as you want. There's a wineskin, which will give you 2 extra move actions, a shield that can prevent a negative event from happening or can guard you from losing willpower points, a bow which gives you the same special ability as the archer, a helmet that lets you add double numbers on your dice, a telescope that lets you see what's in the fog from adjacent spaces, and a falcon that will let you send small items to other players who are not on the same space. Otherwise, if you are in the same space as another player, you can exchange items. Then there are 4 wells on the game board. If you ever get to a space containing a well, you can choose to drink from it and thereby regain 3 willpower points. After that, you flip the token to indicate that it's been emptied. Then there are spaces containing fog tokens. If your hero gets to this space, you immediately reveal what's in the fog. In this case, it's 3 willpower points, so you gain 3 willpower points and then discard the fog token. But it can also be, for example, a gold. You'll immediately get 1 gold, but it can also be negative, like a gore. At this point, a monster appears on this space. At the start of each new day, there are a couple of things you need to do, as indicated on the sunrise field. First, you will draw and resolve a card from the event deck. After that, all the gores will move 1 space towards the castle, as indicated by the arrows on the game board. After that, all the scrolls will move, then the wardrocks, then the trolls, wardrocks move a second time, then you refill all the wells that are emptied, and after that the legend token will move 1 space up. Usually when you reach letter N on the legend track, your time will be up and the game will be over. You check the card and see whether you've won or lost the game. Okay, now what do I think about this game? I really love it. As I mentioned before, this is the game that got me into the hobby of modern board gaming. I picked it up because it looked beautiful, and then I found out it played good as well. I've shown you the game board, but I haven't told you that it's double-sided. On the other side of the game board is this beautiful artwork of a cave, and this is only used in 1 scenario, so I hope it will be used in future expansions as well. Now it's also very easy to learn. You don't have to teach it to anyone because in the rules there's a tutorial. The first half of the first scenario you'll learn how to walk and how to pick up stuff. In the second half of the first scenario you'll learn how to fight monsters. And after that the game lets you play it by yourself. And this tutorial reminded me a lot of video game tutorials, and a really good one at that. Now, as gameplay goes, it really is kind of a puzzle. You don't want to slay too many monsters because you'll get further on the legend track, and if you get to the end of the legend track, the game ends. So you have to make choices. Do I slay the monster or do I let it go towards the castle? If too many monsters are in the castle, you'll lose. So maybe you should have slain it. And I really like that. Sometimes you're like, whoa, I've got so much to do, and so little time, but that's one of the fun parts of the game. Now I hope you've got a good idea of what this game is and how it plays. Until next time, I'm Robert, the Co-op Gamer. See you then.